Hey guys, and welcome back to another iteration of the My Hero Academia themed Quirk Concepts, number 7. So it's Quirk Concepts 7 Rebirth, Remake, Returns. I was really thinking about that as the next Final Fantasy like 7 remake title, but that sounds kind of cheesy. We'll see how that plays out. That's an entirely different topic though. But I am here with Mark.
Hi.
And Mark, we have 10 people here who have submitted over the course of like a little over a year at this point. We've been kind of delayed on Quirk Concepts, but we're back again, reviewing 10 submissions here, or at least 10 individuals, and some of them have multiple quirks that they have submitted. And we're going to try to like...
We're looking at you, Reaper and Sandwich. Holy shit.
I would typically encourage people, and also just to let you all know, we are accepting new inputs for the next Quirk Concepts video in the comments below of the latest Quirk Concepts. So whether it be 7 or 8, just find the latest one, comment there if you want this to be featured. But we are only going to accept the first 10 for the reason that we had talked about just earlier. Some people have submitted multiple, and we appreciate that. But I would heavily encourage people to submit just one that they really like to back up, and just concise and keep that condensed.
Yeah, so we really do like how in-depth you guys go, but just to save us some time, it would really help if you could summarize a bit.
Mm-hmm. So without
just
further
because
ado,
it's a lot of information to take in.
It's 100%. Typically, we'd love to see the quirk name, how it's applied, what are the drawbacks of using said quirk, and that's typically how things work out. We're gonna go ahead and start from what I believe is the oldest one that was submitted first for the video. So we have Skyla here. They're submitting a pretty condensed quirk concepts here. It's called Razorwing. Description as stated here: Razorwing is an aerial type quirk that enables the holder to fly with bladed wings. Each feather is separate katanas, which could be launched via telekinesis, similar to Hawk's. I was going to bring that up. Fierce's wings quirk, except 10 times more deadly, because they're actual katanas, not feathers. Razorwing is a quirk that is that only one true line has been passed down to. See, this is the extra bit here. Only those who are deemed strong enough can fully utilize razor wings to the maximum limit.
The chosen one!
But yeah, I made some comments here and there. This is one of those I was able to kind of like cut down and be like, okay, this is exactly like Hawks, except it's much more like battle focused. Whereas I feel
like Hawks with much more of a focus on offense.
I liked Hawks because of like just the applications used. It's used to carry different objects, move people around. It's also used for reconnaissance.
Very versatile.
You know, I think Horikoshi may have overcooked on that one. Like, wait, how do you read based on like where your feathers are placed? But you know what?
Seriously, Hawks is a great character.
Yeah, they definitely gave him a lot of versatility with his quirk. He also has blades, or at least he can make a feather blade. Not quite katanas, but I still appreciate the fact that we do have one that's kind of like, how do I describe it? It's like whenever like a main bad guy or enemy will use like weapons as appendages. I'm always for that, especially when it's like those stretchy arm dudes who carry like bladed axes at the very end of it, and they're like. The next one, Xander's a familiar one. I recognize Xander. This one's actually short, sweet, simple as well. The quirk is called Swap. The user of this quirk is able to swap the quirk of another person for as long as they please, but they have to be conscious in order to do so. You can not only swap quirks, but also the personality as well. I think that's fair, but I kind of wanted some elaboration because the wording could be kind of iffy. Is it a matter of like, he can swap quirks at first, but then later on he's like, oh, I can swap the personality instead? Or is it both?
Probably, just judging from the wording, it's implied as kind of just a 2-for-1. You can kind of just do both if you want.
I think the drawback would be cool that like it is their own personality, so you don't carry the same like bit about you when you do the swap. I think that was one of those where it's like, I think this is really cool. It'd be cool to see a little bit more drawbacks like being applied. So in this case,
yeah, because so far the only drawback is consciousness.
Yeah, or I guess the quirk itself, you inherit like whatever like issues they have. It's kind of almost like from Class 1B, who's able to copy for a little bit. Monoma. And he also inherits like some of the drawbacks there too. But yeah, that was Xander. Thank you, Xander. Richard seems I could have sworn I've recognized Richard's name. But this is one of those examples where we like would request to like kind of concise it down a little bit. But I was able to read this through and give you a pretty good summary of like what it is. Let me give you the quirk name. It's called Hellhound. Essentially, you have an individual who is taking on a mutation quirk, kind of like a mix of like a demon beast man, who has the power of flames, but also has that a power to like allure slash attract other folks like with their pheromones. They have as a beastman,
Very
they have enhanced strength,
yeah. Just
agility,
keep going with the
endurances.
animal theme of the pheromones. That makes sense.
Yeah, that works. But the drawback for this one is the fact that it's something where like they have to continually release like hormones just regularly to just be themselves. Otherwise, they will enter into a state of rage. That kind of deals with like pent up hormones. I get it.
We've all been a teenager.
We all been there, but this is like perpetually for the rest of their lives. That
I know
sucks.
this is like imagine teenage hormones your entire life. That sucks.
I did want them to kind of elaborate on more of the flame power bit. Also, I'm putting everyone's like comments just on screen so you guys can actually like read through a lot of the additional details and backgrounds for the character. Yeah, I see this one. I actually do like when they integrate a little bit more beastmen like types because our class 1A is kind of more humanoid for the most part, and there's only been like a couple of like beast folk that have been like featured as far as their physical representation, and that could also be part of like how they want to establish like the world system and powers and whatnot, and the classes as well. All of them seem to be pretty partial in the show, though. I also added to note like firebender. Like, is it like could it do firebending stuff, or is it just like cool armament like fire type of thing? We have King Vitamin here. They have a multitude of quirks here and there. King Vitamin here has a couple quirks here. Whichever one we seem is like deem as the best will definitely feature into the video. This one we have is vector shifting. I actually really like this one, just TLDR. It deals with tattoos on the body that allow for direction slash vector control of magnitude of objects, people, and the user themselves. It's capable of redirecting objects and attacks in order or just straight up stop them in the tracks. The control comes from like tagging things with arrows, or I guess also touch as well of the user. A person is able to shoot out these arrows up to like 8 of them on the body, tattooed on the body. And these arrows can change their direction at will, split off into multiple arrows, perhaps limited at 8. It wasn't really specified there. And I guess the user can also ride the arrows, but I think you can also say that like the arrows like on them, it allows them to like go into different directions just naturally. And then the drawback for being able to do this is the fact that it requires a lot of concentration to even use one of those arrows. The trajectory is also to be considered. Otherwise, if you lose focus, they disappear. The arrow splitting makes them weaker. Enemies can actually like override, or anything can override it if it has enough force like acting on it. It also takes 10 minutes for those arrows to return back to the user. And I guess the limitation for like redirection and reflection of different like oncoming attacks is that you actually have to touch them in order to make it work. It's not an arrow thing. Mark, what did you think about that one particularly? Because it gets me like avatar tattoos in that kind of way, but I've seen like vectors being involved in other shows.
Yeah, like I could see why you'd say that because arrow tattoos naturally everyone's gonna think of Aang.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. I think it's a good concept overall. He definitely put some thought into it. I think for the most part, the drawbacks and the advantages all make sense.
This quirk submitted by King Vitamin is called Eyes of Liberation.
I love the information, but right before the
The
explanation.
little information, I get you. I said it. Eyes of Liberation. That love interest is wild, but I get it. He said like, I'm not ashamed, bro.
You know, that's my favorite part. I am not ashamed. I respect the shit out of that. He said, I'm not ashamed.
Let me live my truth.
You do you, man. I agree. Mina's great.
Eyes of Liberation. User can replicate almost any move. Actually, I think I summarized this. Let me go into a summary of that one. It has the ability to copy moves, techniques, and quirks to a certain degree. Evading any attack sounds they mentioned sounds kind of like a Sharingan type of thing as well. But I guess during this moment of like copying, you're able to augment your strength and like agility, possibly matching them or even outpacing the opponent. I guess it depends on how long you're like in that fight.
Basically.
The drawback slash the limitation is that you need to be able to see the target clearly in the action of which they're doing first. So if you want to copy like Deku's kicking technique, for example, you can do that. I'm not sure if you can really copy one for all though.
It's like if you combined Aizawa and Monoma.
Yeah. Also needs to maintain a field of vision for like 5 minutes. So not as bad as the one above or previously stated.
Right.
But you can only do one quirk at a time. Fair
Mhm.
enough.
So he's balanced it.
Yeah, I think those one's pretty fair. It's Sharingan, particularly. Not the Genjutsu side of it, but definitely just like reading and tracking one's movements and also copying it. This is Kakashi. Wait a minute.
Mindbreaker is literally a Genjutsu.
But I will say, I think out of all of them, I think I do like vector shifting a lot more, just because it has a lot more technical stuff added to it. It may be a little bit more wordier, but I think because of that, I was able to really get a better grasp as to like some of the applications and also the drawbacks of like total concentration needing to be a thing. Although I think the other quirks having like a lot of Naruto references is definitely something to just kind of keep an eye out for. Also, guys, yeah, you can
it
check
was
it out
definitely
too.
between Vector and Liberation. Oh boy.
Guys, strap down for this one. Well, actually, for everyone else, it might just be just one that we read out. The other ones, not so much, but we're reading all of it. Otherwise, let's just start with a Dr. Sandwich. Appreciate you. Please summarize next time.
Because my guy, you gave us a novel.
It gave us a short story and then some, like the first chapter of Harry Potter. Whenever the user falls asleep, this is Dreamland. The quirk activates, making a bubble between 60. Also, just to let y'all know, I haven't like done a summary of this, so I actually need to read it. Whenever the user falls asleep, the quirk activates, making a bubble between 60 to 240 feet radius. Size of the bubble is bigger, the more tired the user is. People can enter the bubble, but getting out is tricky. Inside the bubble, anything the user dreams about comes into reality. So within the bubble, vivid dreams, dream walking, they can manipulate what happens and appears inside that bubble. The stuff inside the bubble can harm and have effects inside the bubble, but have no lasting effects outside the bubble, except for like being knocked out, death. That's kind of extreme. Any psychological trauma, mental trauma, like problems gained from being inside. So if you see someone like getting eaten like from the head first, then yeah, that'll leave an impression on you. What can be spawned inside the bubble is seemingly limitless, even a vacuum. And a real sun could appear as well, depending on what the user's dreaming about. The weakness, though, is that when the user is asleep, they can't really move while using that quirk, so they're just left defenseless, and the quirk makes them narcoleptic. Okay.
If there's anything this reminds me of, it reminds me of the wizard from Black Clover, like the captain that's all about like sleep magic.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Dream magic, essentially. Like she's always asleep.
I see. I kind of like that. The problem is like where that bubble's like really gonna come from, in which direction. But honestly, I like the fact that this is not like a really offensive quirk. It's just like an imaginative one that could just be used for anything, really. If you put them in the My Hero verse, I can kind of see it. I can see people like stepping into that world, and you know, it's just a crazy trip if you walk in there and they're dreaming of something crazy. I guess you wouldn't really be able to control that type of quirk unless you had practice with it. I forget what it's actually called in order to like have a grasp at your dreams.
Lucid dreaming?
Lucid dreaming, yes. So if you have like control like that, then that'd be very useful for albeit some very particular circumstances. I think for the most part, I do kind of like the ones the Sandwich has submitted. I think though,
they're all solid.
I think the one that I like the most, I think it's a tie between Dreamland and like Star Stickers, actually.
Oh, yeah, those both are like definitely the best ones.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think I'd give it to Dreamland, actually.
Yeah, Dreamland. I think Dreamland sounds probably the best, I would have to say.
I think I find it like the more neutral of all quirks if you place this person in the world. Like this is something that like this could be an average Joe who just going about their day, and then you know they just simply have like dream bubbles that pop out whenever they're sleeping,
chances are they sleep a lot.
Yeah, or you know they could end up as someone who just has who kind of works in Hero Society in some certain like instance. They would have to take advantage of lucid dreaming though. Let's go with Grayson Miller. Grayson has one comment, but multiple quirks applied to that one. We'll pick one, of course, but let's just read them out. Okay, quirk, the 11th hour. Interesting. Here we go. Every hour on the dot, the user receives a massive surge of energy that they can control. They don't really.
It's high noon.
It's high noon. Training would increase the duration of the intensity of the surge. The drawback is that the user has no other ability and has to fight basically quirkless other than support items for the next hour. It's a very particular like time frame where they can use this massive surge of energy.
So it's like a even smaller timed version of
Oh.
Escanor.
Oh, well, yeah. Also, yeah, every hour on the dot. My bad.
It's like less time than he has, but it reminds me of Escanor. The Lion Sin of Pride from Seven Deadly Sins, how, when the sun comes up, it's like, he starts getting stronger, and then, would you look at the time? When as soon as it's noon, like high noon, literally, it's like, he is him.
I think this is one where like the added information is great too. The support item is that you can there's some things you can like charge like using that energy, and that wouldn't leave the user vulnerable during like off hour. I would think that the surge of energy is something that they could manipulate into like, just to be unfiltered, key blasts, and that works.
Basically, what this is they would just have to hold off until he can use his quirk.
Or like put it into like some kind of tank that could be reused at any point, which I think would be the best application. So yeah, the next one's funny. just reading it. Deus Ex Machina.
This is meta as fuck.
Okay, here we go. The user's quirk changes to perfectly fit the situation. What do you mean by that?
This one.
But the quirk is always limited, or really, the quirks are always limited in power. So 1.5 times super strength being an example. That's I think they would need to really like expand on that. Training would increase the power limit of their quirks, or maybe like multiple at once, like Monoma.
I think what they mean is it basically like they can use the quirk, but it won't be exact. They can't use it 100%.
I see.
Like
so
they can't use it to the quirk can't be used to its full potential, but they can use it.
So are we saying it's like a copy quirk instead of like an adaptive thing? However yeah. I was gonna say like, bro, if you need to become liquid, you become liquid. Are you like Kirby?
That could be a quirk if it fits the situation.
The drawback is that the user is incapable of practicing with any one quirk, and that they are limited in power. So they just get base set quirk of anybody.
They could train to increase their power limit, though. So that is something.
That's true. So, like, generally speaking, they have to train, I guess, by copying a lot, adapting that quirk a lot, and then the tolerance builds as well as the next stage of said quirk that they choose to like adapt to,
or it's like it says in parentheses, or maybe multiple at once, like Monoma.
Yeah. I think this one's definitely a pending one, but there's potential in that one. I think if I were to look at all the ones submitted by Grayson, I kind of like the 11th hour.
Yeah, 11th hour, realistically. Funny, I would choose Deuce.
Deus Ex Machina.
Just because that sounds hilarious.
Gotcha. This is from Colton. Purple Rain is an emitter quirk. Sorry. The quirk allows the user to emit purple raindrops from the palm of their hands. Purple raindrops are used to heal the wounds of other people other than the user. Thorough training can lead to the rain being able to heal more severe wounds, but the raindrops can never bring one back from the dead. The catch of the quirk is that the rain feels like acid pouring out the user's hands. Ooh. Acid feeling will create serious burn marks that will leave them scarred. What? This quirk requires the user to be selfless, as in order to heal someone, they have to hurt themselves. Damn.
I do like that.
Man, that's poetry, bro. That's tough. That means like you can try to like train it, but that hurts already.
It's equivalent exchange.
Yeah, you're right.
You heal, but you also take the pain.
It protect, but also attack.
Protect, you also attack.
I'm just saying, like right now, I think I kind of like Purple Rain because it really is a give and take, and it's pretty extreme. would want to
Yeah,
want.
I like the idea of Thunderclap, but I think Purple Rain is probably the more well executed.
Yeah, that's tough, dude. Well, Mark, here we are.
Ah!
So first and foremost, shout out to MB Reaper.
You're a champ, bro, and you always give us really detailed ones that really answer a lot of questions. However, summarize, my guy.
Name is Felix. Panzer is the hero name. Full Metal Jacket. You weren't joking about that. That's the quirk. We'll go and read this one, but after this, I think I might have to pass it on to you just to read out the remaining two. Felix here can turn his skin into a durable AR like 550 or 550 type steel. Yeah, bullet and ordnance proof. It's tank armor. Thank you. Thank you for in parentheses. It has high durability. This drastically increases Felix's durability and also increases his attack power. Plus, the type of steel makes it incapable of natural redundancy. This means that Felix can keep his quirk up for as long as he doesn't take significant damage. What makes Full Metal Jacket unique is the ability to turn people's skins into the same steel. What the hell, dude?
Unbreakable?
But you can pass it. The ability to peel, quote unquote, other people makes Felix such a big asset in a fight. Also gears Felix towards being able or agile enough to be able to protect his allies, since he needs skin-to-skin contact for that to work. The need for skin-to-skin contact for Felix is to be able to share his quirk. Definitely restricts how he can peel. If he and his allies get split up, it becomes much more harder to protect them. So he has to stick with them. Not only that, but sharing his quirk comes with a consequence. Once Felix does so, it becomes harder for him to actually maintain the quirk. Overextending the amount of people with Full Metal Jacket can result in major fatigue, dizziness, and even some lightheadedness. At the moment, Felix can cover 2 allies with minimum repercussions. That's not including taking damage. It wouldn't be a metal type quirk without the need of iron. Apparently, nearly all metal type quirks need a good supply of iron to activate. It's weird. The less iron in Felix's system, the easier it'll be to make him dizzy. No, Felix's iron levels have little effect on the durability on the actual metal. AR 550 is still resistant to redundancy like Tetsu. Instead, it affects Felix's bodily functions, iron deficiency bites. I think they kind of give a quick little thing right here. Less offensive quirk, right? And more of a team peel quirk meant to help protect a small squad of people. While it has some offensive capability, its true power comes in defensive utility. Though if physical contact isn't attained, it can't be shared. The fact alone can make it hard to protect people in certain instances. I like Full Metal Jacket because it is primarily just for defense, whereas you've seen a lot of users in the show, and that's technically just 2 of them, be a little bit more offensive about it,
using defense for also offense.
Yeah, but this one he protect, but he also protect. But I'm pretty sure at the same time, if you punch someone hard enough with that type of tank thing, then that's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. But I like the fact that this is more about the character being able to protect a lot of people and pass it on to folks. Appreciate that. The drawbacks make a lot of sense. You obviously need to build up a lot of that iron to make it work. As well, I mean, durability works, but the user suffers greatly if they don't nourish themselves with the appropriate nutrients on that. What do you say is the best one, or at least your favorite out of the 3?
I think the last 2 are probably the best done. Blitz isn't bad. Definitely an assigned role. I think Blitz would have an assigned role as artillery. I see these as 3 classes. We have a ranger or a ranged class, which is the first one. Second one, we have our assassin, and then the third one, we have our tank. And so, if I had to say which of these I think sounds try to decide on the one that's the best. That's a hard one.
Yeah. For the sake of editing, which one would be your number 1?
I'll stick with you. I'll side with you, and I will give it to the last one.
Yeah, I actually do agree that the tank is probably. I think partially it's due to the fact that we have a lot of offensive ones being submitted. The ones that are kind of out there are usually the ones that stand out to me these days, but. That is to say, a lot of the offensive power that you see in some of these submissions are very palpable, for sure. But I do like ones that are just kind of help out, everybody else, too. Because in the sense of Full Metal Jacket, it doesn't always have to be, a squad to carry out a mission to, fight some villains. It can also just be for, in the event that you see someone crossing the street and you see like Truck Kun like come by and they're gonna try to isekai someone. You're like, no, you don't. Yeah, I think I really like Full. It's also because of the name. This one's from Pokemon 1334.
Quirk, Lifebringer. Bring inanimate objects to life, such as dolls, mannequins, and puppets, to life. The only drawback is that the user puts a piece of their soul in the objects to. Where have I heard that? I think I heard something like that before. In the objects to move around the user. To move around, the user can control up to 15 to 12 wait, 15 to 20 objects depending on the size. Example: the user can put a percentage of their soul in dolls, a percentage in puppets, and a percentage in mannequins, but the main percentage of the soul must remain in the user's body. If the objects are destroyed, the pieces of the soul go back to the user.
Oh yeah, that's fair enough. At least it's not gone forever.
Right.
But yeah, the idea of passing on like soul into like a puppet, it's certainly not like an innovative type of like idea. It's definitely been implemented in different like types of works. In the world of My Hero, can't say that it has been like used quite yet, but I can see that having a drawback in the sense that like you're pretty much like sacrificing a little or making your own body very vulnerable by doing this. So like if you hit like 15 or 20 of them, like that soul is absolutely gone from the body. So that body's kind of
A hollow
immobilized.
shell.
Yeah. So you had to protect the body. I'm thinking about these last two, but I think if I had to like pick one, I think it was probably the best thing that Pokemon has like submitted here. Not the series Pokemon, but the user here. Whew. I kind of like Lifebringer. It's a little bit more like dramatic in the callback or the drawback.
Yeah, I would give it to draw, but I do think you make a good point. There's way more of a drawback to Lifebringer.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, draw's pretty good. I think he reminds me of Sai in Naruto, but like instead of always continually doing that and those just being like washed away, there's a lot of risk involved. Here we go. Last one, Mark. This is Super Flight.
Quirk, I will name it at the end. All right, give me the story. You have the ability to grow arms out of your torso. They can be used as intended, extra arms, or you can rip them off and use them as a club or something.
Oh
Ow.
my god.
You can choose to leave out certain things when growing the arms. Nervous system if you don't want to feel them getting hit, or bones if you just want rope.
Oh
Anything
my
is possible.
god.
You stress out your body by doing this, so using this quirk will give you backaches and similar pains. You can become more resilient with practice. But the pain will always be there to some extent, no matter how small.
Oh my god.
There are two ways for this quirk to awaken. One, you are able to grow a few more arms in one go, rip them off faster, and feel less pain when you do. On top of that, you can still move the arms when you rip them, allowing you to accomplish a lot more than you could by yourself. Basically, your arms become really inefficient ants.
Yeah, all right.
I can see that. You can not only abstain from putting parts of your body into the arm, bones and muscles, but actually add onto your arm anything you want, anything, as long as it's from your body.
Hey, wait a minute.
There's a lot you could do with that. You can make an eye on your hand, shows you a moment, or just make the entire arm out of bone. You don't need to understand how it works. Just have a clear picture of what you want. You don't need to understand how nerves connect to the brain to put the eye in your hand.
Thank
You
you.
don't
I
need to
wouldn't be
know
able to.
how to reshape the bone to fit the arm, etc. Note, for the sake of someone who asked, yes, you can make an entire arm out of hearts. But
I
it
didn't
could
ask
not
that.
but it would not hold its shape very well, and there wouldn't
That's
be a
fair.
way for all of them to beat correctly, since they need to be attached a certain way anyway. You need to be careful not to make yourself too sensitive with this one. Putting in extra nerves is a really bad idea. Honestly, good point. This all started from a random discussion about what a quirk named Second Amendment would look like. Bruh. The right to bear arms, I get it.
I get it.
Hope you enjoyed, and yes, I understand that this would be a pretty disgusting quirk to see next. At least he knows.
I appreciate this one. It's probably my favorite quirk as well, like out of the submissions here that
Yeah,
Superflight's
these
done.
two, I'd say Second Amendment, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because it's gross and it sounds very painful, but I think you can really make use of that. But hey, listen, like I just think about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom when you have like those like skeleton arm things, they just kind of move independently. So I mean, You can make that into you can make that into a weapon if you want. My thing is that I guess when they mentioned like growing multiple arms, I kind of because I recently watched Lilo and Stitch because of the Hawaiian Vacation. So I was thinking like that, but it's like no, you can't retract them either. They're just there now. And then I thought about Mortal Kombat. There's a character that does that. I would not like to see this character in the My Hero verse, but I mean they could show up like that. I think even the League of Villains would be like, that's kind of rough, dude.
To be like, Jesus Christ. You're like, my goodness, man.
You can imagine All For One. He's like, I don't want that quirk.
He's like, this is one of the ones that I just don't want.
I kind of don't want it. Even if I lost my hand, I'd rather just lose it. Now he probably want it.
He said, "Eh, why not?"
I mean, he made that one super gross hand. Well, Mark, that's all of them actually. This was this is quite the star roster actually.
Honestly, a lot of submissions.
Yeah, and there was some pretty good ones too in the
Oh yeah,
mix.
for sure.
But yeah, guys, that's going to conclude for another episode or installment of our Quirk Concepts video. We'll be back, especially if there is more people showing up here. So in the comments, of course, you can feel free to add in what you want, and we will feature it in the next one. We're limiting up to 10 folks. No matter how many submissions you submit, please don't submit too many of those. But we're keeping it down to 10 folks, 10 users. And for that next video, Quirk Concepts 8, we'll be sure to feature that. So in the meantime, that's going to be it for us. We'll be marking things out. We're going to be editing this one out and getting it out as soon as possible. But that's going to be it for us. Mark, any closing thoughts before we go ahead and sign off?
Great job, guys. Keep up the creativity.
All right. And I guess for me, honestly, we'll continue doing this for as long as I guess the series is still active, whether it be anime or manga. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for us. Appreciate everyone for tuning in on this one. Feel free, again, to leave a like, share the video with other people, get encouraged or encourage other folks to add their own Quirk Concepts, especially if we make it up to 10 immediately, then we can get started with production. But yeah, that's going to be it for us. Again, thank you all for tuning in. See you guys in the next one. #bye, everybody.